Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
Bringing you the news from here at home and across the world. This is Primetime News live here on Newsfirst. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
And I'm Madhush Balasuriya. And before we start, let's start off with a look at your headlines. The General Assembly cannot make Sri Lanka legally comply with the UN Human Rights Council resolution, says the President of the UNGA, John Ash. Another collision between two trains in Alutgama. Unions and authorities trade allegations.
මේකේ නොසලකින්නේ වැඩ කරන මිනිසුත් ගොඩක් ඉන්නවා. ඇඟට ගන්නේ නැති මිනිසුත් ඉන්නවා.
මේ අනතුරු වළක්වා ගැනීමට දුම්රිය දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව පැත්තෙන් දුම්රිය පරිපාලනයේ පැත්තෙන් දේශපාලන නායකත්ව පැත්තෙන් කිසිදු පියවරක් අරගෙන නැහැ.
University students protest in Colombo over cutbacks of allied health science degree. Thai Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra ousted by Constitutional Court.
In our top story this evening, President of the United Nations General Assembly Dr. John William Ash says the General Assembly cannot make Sri Lanka legally comply with the UN Human Rights Council resolution which was adopted in March this year. He made this comment in an exclusive interview with Newsfirst Shamir Rasulddin in Colombo today.
Failing to adhere to this resolution in question, can the General Assembly, consisting of 193 member states, impose pressure in a situation like this, Mr. President?
Ultimately, the report of the Human Rights Council will be considered within the appropriate committee of the General Assembly, the third committee, and a decision will be taken thereon. Decisions not taken within Article 7 of the Security Council of the United Nations Charter do not carry legal weight, so they couldn't legally make Sri Lanka comply with whatever the recommendations are. One would hope, though, as is true for any General Assembly decision, that the country in question will implement the recommendations of the decisions taken.
So do you think there's interference by some states into internal affairs of other nations?
Well, the world we live in is not perfect, and there are those who are in a position, for whatever reason, whether it's something that they've taken upon themselves or not, to make pronouncements about the affairs of other countries. That has always been so, and that will always be so. And I don't think any President of the General Assembly could change that.
What is your view overall, as the President of the GA? What are your thoughts on the human rights record in Sri Lanka?
I don't have a personal view, either as the President of the General Assembly or as an individual. What I do care about, though, is that human rights should be observed, irrespective of the country.
The full interview with the United Nations General Assembly President Dr. John Williams Ash will be telecast in the near future.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the UN General Assembly, Dr. John W. Ash, who arrived in the country to attend the 15th World Conference on Youth, met with President Mahinda Rajapaksa today.
The President of the UNGA, Dr. John Ash, had commended the President on the rapid development achieved by Sri Lanka in the recent past. According to a media release issued by the Presidential Media Unit, Dr. Ash had expressed his pleasure at being able to witness the development in the country and also commended the speech delivered by President Mahinda Rajapaksa addressing the World Youth Conference. The President had pointed out that the country has been able to achieve clear progress following the end of the war, which spanned for over 30 years.
The first main plenary session of the 2014 World Conference on Youth worked off at the BMICH in Colombo today, with many delegates, dignitaries and world media in attendance. The theme of the main plenary session today was Mainstreaming Youth in the Post-2015 Agenda, Looking Back.
Proceedings worked off today with the launch of the official commemorative stamp of the World Conference on Youth 2014. The first speaker at the main plenary session today was Senior Minister of International Monetary Cooperation, Dr. Sarath Amunugama, who spoke of the responsibility of states in focusing on youth.
And when you talk of people, our main focus should be and will be young people. because the next set of Millennium Goals, development goals, will be concerning you. And what countries do for the youthful population will determine whether those countries will grow fast, whether they will have economic development, whether they will tackle problems of poverty or not.
Also addressing the main session today, Subinay Nandi, the UN's resident representative in Sri Lanka, had this to say to the participants at the conference.
We all have a responsibility to mainstream youth in the all post-2015 development agenda discussions. And more importantly, you all have a voice and you have a right to voice your views and concerns, to have them heard through the international processes, through the national processes, through the regional processes.
7 main plenary discussions took place from topics stemming to youth rights, gender equality, as well as environmental protection. Apart from this, later this evening, they had 6 regional discussions that took place as well, where each delegate were given the opportunity to table their issues and concerns. Now, once a decision is reached subsequent to these discussions, it will ultimately lead to the creation of the Colombo Declaration, which will be presented on Friday. So stay with Newsfirst as we bring you more of the very latest on the World Conference of Youth 2014. I'm Katrina Chang reporting for Newsfirst.
Moving into another one of our headline-making stories. 6 employees of the Department of Railways have been suspended over a collision involving 2 trains near the Alutkama railway station this morning. A fuel transport train had collided with a passenger train that had stopped at the station. While there were no casualties reported, there was property damage caused. This is the second incident of its kind in less than 2 weeks.
About 10,000 lives travel on these tracks every day, but at present the journey has become risky owing to several accidents that occurred in the recent past. One such accident was reported from Alutkama today.
The fuel transport train plying from Galle to the Colombo Fort railway station had collided with a passenger train stopped at the Alutkama railway station at about 12:55 am today. The stationary train was in office service, which was due to depart for the Colombo Fort railway station at 3:50 am. General Manager of Railways BAP Ari Ratna said that another train had also been stopped ahead of the passenger train. The Department of Railways noted that the 8 fuel tanks of the fuel transport train were empty when the collision occurred. The engine of the fuel transport train and the back of the passenger train were damaged in the incident.
We had received the signal. We moved forward slowly, but we collided with another train. It was a wrong approach to the railway station. The gravity of the accident was mitigated because we were travelling slow.
Services on the coastal railway line were affected for about an hour following the collision. General Manager of Railways BAP Ari Ratna says that preliminary investigations revealed that the collision was not the result of a technical fault or glitch. Accordingly, the engineer of the fuel train, the assistant engineer, chief guard, sub guard and 2 station masters at the Alutkama railway station have been suspended.
Superintendent, do you have a rough estimate of the damages caused?
No, we are estimating it. It was said that the damage was not too great, but we have not estimated it as yet.
Superintendent, several such incidents have been reported in the recent past. Why is it that trains are travelling on the same track on the same line and meeting with these accidents? Have you identified a cause?
There are several factors to consider here, but since we are conducting inquiries into the recent incidents, I cannot clearly state the cause.
Superintendent, this is not the first such incident. What steps will you take to prevent this from happening again?
Since inquiries are underway, we cannot say at once whether they are guilty or not. However, if a railway employee, an engineer, a member of the staff or any other employee is found guilty in the inquiry, then the General Manager of Railways and the Honourable Minister have said that they will be severely punished if they are found to be guilty in the inquiry.
Don't such incidents cause a larger burden to be placed on the government and public funds? Isn't this a crime?
Yes, in truth, it is the people that will have to pay for this. The Department of Railways accepts this. We have decided that from today we will only operate trains in keeping with the railway safety laws as a trade union action. As a result, train services will not be operated in keeping with the schedule. On the other hand, when you consider the glitches, some of the engines and power sets cannot be put into service. Thereby, the passengers may face certain delays and cancellations and be inconvenienced. The railway authorities will have to take the responsibility for this.
68 persons were injured on the 30th of April following a head-on collision between two trains at the Putuhera railway station in Kurunegala. General Manager of Railways B.A.P. Ari Ratna said losses from the accident have been estimated at 170 million rupees. 15 people, including the two engineers, were injured in a collision between two trains near the Keenawala substation in Veyangoda. 5 people were injured when an engine collided with a parked power set near the Ambepusa railway station. 3 people were killed and more than 30 injured in a collision involving 3 trains at the Alawa railway station in September 2011. Losses from this incident were estimated to be 75 million rupees.
There are many persons here who work negligently. They have no passion for their work. Each of them wants to show that they are the boss. The Honourable Minister and I are facing severe hardships as a result.
The main problem is that through this departmental process or inquiry, they have not identified the parties that are truly responsible, nor have they taken the appropriate action. Neither are they repositioning the inquiry at a supervisory level. Since the true situation is not being identified through this process, accidents will continue.
At this instance, I must mention that stern action will be taken against all persons identified as being responsible through this independent inquiry, regardless of their status or party affiliation.
Committees have been appointed, but none of the reports of these committees have been properly implemented. At times, it is the officials responsible for the accidents that are appointed to the committees.
There is a severe shortage of guards. It is the trade unions that have caused this, the clash between the trade unions. One trade union does not let the other trade union fulfill its needs. Therefore, we cannot prepare procedures. They oppose every procedure.
As a result of politicization, the funds of the Department of Railways are not being spent according to the department's needs. As a result of acting according to political whim, railway administration has failed. A large number of accidents occurred in the recent past. No steps have been taken on the part of the Department of Railways, Railways administration or the political leadership to prevent these accidents.
One train after another are meeting with accidents. People are being wounded and are dying. There is apparently a loss of 175 million rupees. In South Korea, the moment the ferry sank, the Prime Minister tendered his resignation. The President of India gave up office following a train accident. But here in this country, no matter what happens, even if you take a bribe of 450 million rupees, it is swept under the rug. In the face of these accidents, the authorities and trade unions are trading allegations. Usually, in the aftermath of an accident, committees are appointed and reports are furnished. But the fate of these committees and their reports is indeed a mystery. Railway commuters want to know what exactly is happening to the Department of Railways.
University students engaged in a protest today against the decision taken to reduce the duration of the Allied Health Sciences degree to 3 years. The section of the Galle Road from the Kolpiti Junction to the Galle Face roundabout was temporarily closed due to the protest march.
The university students began their protest from opposite the University Grants Commission.
මම නෙමෙයි මේ පාර දුන්නේ ගරු මහේස්ත්‍රාත්තුමා දීලා තියෙන්නේ මම පාර ගන්න සුදානම් නැහැ උගලන්ට ගහන්න ආවෙත් නැහැ ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ එලවන්න ආවෙත් මේක පිළිගත්තේ නැත්නම් ඊට පස්සේ තව රාජකාරියක් තියෙනවා ඉතින් ඒ රාජකාරියට මම යන්න කැමති නැහැ පාගමන් යන්න නැහැ අපි නිශ්චිත ප්‍රශ්න කියලා දෙනවා ඒකට උත්තර දෙන්න අපි පාගමන්.
The protesters who commenced their march defying police orders proceeded past the Colombo University of Performing Arts, Kanduruwatta, Tungmulla Junction and arrived in Bambalapitiya. The protesters then proceeded towards Temple Trees through the Kolpiti Junction. A section of the Galle Road from Kolpiti Junction to the Galle Face roundabout was temporarily closed as the protesters staged a sit-in. The protesters remained opposite Temple Trees for around 1.5 hours before dispersing.
Meanwhile, tensions flared at 3 protests held in separate parts of the island over the quality of roads. A group of residents staged a protest blocking the Galle Road this morning, denouncing the failure to renovate the Ratmalala Telavala Road over the past 5 years. Our children cannot go to school. Working people cannot travel on the road. They are bathed in mud. When they eventually get to work, they are late. Vehicles break down. We ask that they keep the promises they made. We ask the authorities to do us a kindness and resolve this issue expeditiously by making this road usable. The demonstrators say that while sections of the road were broken recently to lay water pipelines, this has made the situation worse. The police intervened and brought an official from the Road Development Authority to the area.
We have called for tenders and have entrusted the reconstruction of this road to a contractor. He came to the office yesterday and promised me that they would commence work on the road today. I promise you that I will contact him somehow and get work on this road started today.
The protesters dispersed subsequently. Residents of the Yayahaya village in Vijayabapura in the Mahaveli B zone in Polonnaruwa staged a demonstration today, charging that persons are conducting illegal excavations in the reserve and are transporting the soil through this road for the building of the Somavati road. The residents blocked the road, preventing 17 excavators from reaching their destination. The manager of the Vijayabapura Divisional Office of the Mahavali Authority arrived at the location and attempted to release the vehicles, but had to leave under the protection of the police STF when the protesters opposed her actions. The contractors in question also visited the scene.
ඔයා ඊට පස්සේ පොඩක් ඉන්න. මේ වාහන හයියෙන් යන සුපර්වයිසර් කරන සමෝසෙලාගේ මම මේ කියන එක්කොට මම ගහලා බයිලා ගහලා දෙන්නම් ඔබතුමාලා වැඩ පටන් ගන්න. අපි දැකලා තියෙනවා අනන්තවත්. ලිඛිත ලියුම් දෙන මිනිස්සු ඊට පස්සේ නෑ. මහත්තයා මේමයි. ඔබතුමා කියන දේ මට විශ්වාස කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඔබතුමාට විශ්වාස මේ ඔක්කොටම දෙන්න පුළුවන්. පුළුවන්. ඇත්තට මහත්මේ ගමේ කෙනෙක් මම පොළොන්නරුවේ. ලිඛිතව පරන්ද. ලිඛිතව දුන්නා නම් ඒව නෙමෙයි. අමුද්‍රව්‍ය රැගෙන එන්න මෙතෙන්ද. අරන් වල වැඩේ පටන් ගන්න.
Our reporter said that the police arrived at the location later in the evening and took steps to release all the vehicles.
නමුත් ඔබතුමාලා 100%ක් මහත්තයා කියනවා නම් අපි මේ වැඩේ කරනවා කියලා අපි දැන් යනවා. ඒ මේක තමයි කිව්වේ.
Villagers in Trincomalee staged a demonstration today protesting against the failure to renovate the Padavi Sripura Singhapura road in Trincomalee over the past 30 years. While shops in the Padavi Sripura area were also closed in protest, the group of protesters staged a protest march from Singhapura to Padavi Sripura and staged a demonstration blocking the Padavia road. The protesters also handed over a letter to the divisional secretariat.
Addressing a special forum at the MIT University in the United States, recently opposition leader Ranil Wickremesinghe said the Indian Ocean region is yet to realize its full economic potential.
By 2015, the Indian Ocean region will be the most populous in the world. The Indian Ocean itself has really been the east-west maritime highway. At the moment, 1/3 of the world trade goes through the Indian Ocean. And as a result, there is a focus of the European powers, China, Japan and others on the Indian Ocean. This is their main artery. Despite the fact that these global powers are there, the superpowers and others, European powers, it doesn't mean that they have any say, full say of what happens in the Indian Ocean. The local actors, the regional actors are guided more by their own politics and the need for them to survive politically. Terrorism, violence and corruption can weaken the total government structures in any of these countries. Having said that, it doesn't mean it's hopeless. I think the Indian Ocean region has yet to realize its full economic potential.
The Criminal Investigations Department and 2 other police teams have launched broad investigations into the kidnapping of 2 police officers from Kurunegala and the subsequent murder of 1. According to the police, investigations are being conducted based on the statements provided by the police officers who managed to escape the clutches of his captors.
Two police officers who were on duty in close proximity to the Kurunegala town on the 5th of this month were abducted and 1 officer was shot dead. 1 officer managed to escape his captors and was later admitted to the Kurunegala Teaching Hospital. The police had obtained a number of statements from the officer who survived this ordeal. Although investigations have been launched by the Criminal Investigations Department as well as several other police teams, no information has come to light as yet on the identity of the abductors. Meanwhile, information has also come to light about a theft carried out in a van at a filling station located in the Uyanwat area in Narammala a few hours prior to the abduction. They told me to fill the tank. When I asked for money, they whipped out a pistol. They saw a light in the office room upstairs and tied me along with another individual in the filling station and stole a number of fuel cans as well. According to the employee of the filling station, the CCTV cameras at the station had malfunctioned due to the rainy weather experienced during the day. When we made inquiries about the incident from police media spokesperson's office, they noted that although there is a proximity in the times at which the 2 crimes took place, there is a disparity on the nature of the vans that were involved.
Meanwhile, the following views were expressed in a media briefing convened by the Unity Through Power Devolution movement today.
If they send white vans to kidnap us, should we carry weapons as well to safeguard ourselves? If the police cannot escape, then what hope does the common man have? These grave incidents show that peace, law and order has collapsed in the country. A situation has arisen where even the police can't walk freely.
Well, still to come on the news tonight. Still from the House of Parliament, the Export Development Act, which was presented by the Minister of Commerce and Industries, was taken up for debate today. Here are some of the views expressed during the debate.
President Ranasinghe Premadasa began a program to build 200 factories. In 2013, the total export income was $10,394 million. $4,508 million of this income was generated through the apparel sector. The highest export income is being generated by factories set up by President Premadasa. We also cannot forget the export promotion villages concept brought forward by Lalit Athulat Mudali. Even you know that one such village is located in Hambantota.
You are correct. The export village in Tissamara commenced based on the concept of Lalit Athulat Mudali. It has been functioning for nearly 20 years and sustaining over 1,000 persons. I thank you for reminding it.
First, I need to state that the data and statistics presented by the parliamentarian on exports are completely false. By the fourth quarter of 2013, the Sri Lankan export sector had grown by 6.4%. Export income rose by 6.2%. The industrial, agricultural and fishing sectors also contributed to this growth.
Leader of the JVP, MP Anukumara Dissanayake, raised a question in Parliament regarding the alleged financial irregularities taking place at Sri Lanka Cricket.
A letter sent by the Auditor General to the Chairman of Sri Lanka Cricket on the 7th of April questions the financial discipline of Sri Lanka Cricket. Who is responsible for the financial irregularities pointed out by the Auditor General? I hope the Minister will also inform us about the steps taken by the government to look into this issue.
Every time the Auditor General conducts an audit, there is an audit inquiry as well. If we answer properly, then it is the end of it. Honourable Speaker, the Auditor General has not mentioned about any financial irregularities at Sri Lanka Cricket. He conducted an audit inquiry and Sri Lanka Cricket has provided the necessary responses as well.
Sri Lanka Cricket Palaka Mandale me venakota pilituru dila thiyena.
In more local news, JHU parliamentarian Venerable Athuraliye Ratanathera spoke in appreciation of President's Counsel Hemantha Warnakulasuriya at an event held yesterday for appearing on behalf of a case filed by him.
We are thankful to him. As a senior veteran lawyer, he stood for us and we are immensely thankful to him. We witnessed the procedure in court. He did not come for money or wealth. He came for his conscience and we are thankful to him for that.
Moving swiftly back into matters here at home. In a letter to President Mahinda Rajapaksa, the leader of the National Unity Alliance and member of the Central Provincial Council Azad Sali has drawn attention to attempts being made to demolish a mosque in Dambulla. In his letter, Azad Sali notes that the initial attempt to bring down the 65-year-old mosque in Dambulla, initiated by a so-called hidden hand, continues to haunt the current administration. The Central Provincial Councillor reminds President Rajapaksa that during a general meeting, the President assured the Muslim community that the mosque in Dambulla would not be touched. The leader of the National Unity Alliance also notes that the mosque in question has been in existence since 1964 and that it was constructed with the support of the people of the area and the support of the chief incumbent of the Dambulla Rajamaha Viharaya. In conclusion, Sali urges President Rajapaksa to bring such incidents under control.
Still in news from here at home, the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Cicero Diabru, Court of Appeal Justice Sarat Diabru and President's Counsel Priyantha Samarakon took oaths as Supreme Court judges before President Mahinda Rajapaksa at Temple Trees today. According to a media release issued by the Presidential Media Unit, Secretary to the President Lalit Viratunga and several President's counsels were present at the occasion. Now, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka has expressed grave concern regarding the criteria that should be followed when appointments are made to the apex courts. Issuing a statement, members of the Executive Committee of the Bar Association expressed their belief that such appointments should be made on objective criteria, including seniority, eligibility and merit. The statement reads further, career judges should have the opportunity to ascend to the apex courts in the course of their judicial careers. The EXCO of the BASL notes that ideally the criteria formulated by the Constitutional Council should be followed when making appointments to the apex courts, although regrettably the Constitutional Council has been abolished by the 18th Amendment to the Constitution. The EXCO of the Bar Association adds further that the independence of the judiciary and rule of law are placed in jeopardy when proper criteria are not followed. The Sri Lanka Air Force team claimed victory today in the qualifying tournament being held for the Asian Football Confederation President's Cup. The SLAF team defeated the Eugean Academy team of Bhutan 1-0 today.
The qualifying tournament is being held between the respective league champions of Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bhutan and Bangladesh. The first encounter of the qualifiers was held at the Sugatadas Stadium today with the SLAF taking on Bhutan's Eugean Academy. While both teams were goalless at the end of the first half, Nipuna Bandara fired in the winner for the SLAF in the second. The qualifiers for the AFC President's Cup will conclude on the 11th.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of Primetime News. I'm Madhushka Balasuriya.
And I'm Mahina Bongs. It was great having you with us here as always. Good night.
Take care.
Hotline 0114 896 896 www